Welcome back to the Globe Girl podcast. I'm Kyra. All right, let's welcome Megan to the show. Welcome, Megan.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
Let's get started by having you tell our audience who you are and what you do.
Great question, of course. So first, I like to say that I am a mother of 4 and a wife to 1 and a woman on just this amazing journey of life like all of us. So professionally, though, I'm a life coach and the owner of Tantalum Coaching. And in my job, I am honored to be able to work with wonderful humans on closing the gap between where they are and where they want to be, whether it's in a career or money or relationships. And so, yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Love that. All right. So have you always wanted to be a life coach? Or was there something in your life or your career that made you take a leap into this field?
That's a good and kind of funny question. So, no, I haven't always wanted to be a life coach. And it all started when I got the opportunity. My husband said, quit your job and go write your book. So I've had a great life, but there's definitely been some challenges for sure. There's been sexual abuse and domestic abuse and losing my father to a cancer that shouldn't have killed him. And I mean, many others. So just like everyone, it's been kind of scarred with things here or there. And I've always had the ability or the gift to really weather those storms and learn the lessons from them and really feel like I came out stronger on the other side and not stayed a victim to them. And that was kind of the point of the book. I've always wanted to share that and my perspective with people. So quit my job, writing a book. And in the middle of it, I thought, I want to do this like with people, right? Like one-on-one, I want to help people. I'm going to come up with like a whole new profession that can help people. I'm going to call it like a life coach. Right. Well, after about 5 seconds of Googling, I realized that that's actually a thing. And so that day, paused the book, figured out what you had to do to become a life coach and be certified in that, and applied to schools and did all of that and became a life coach and started my own business right away in it with a help from a mentor. And here I am. So no, not always, but I think it was always inside of me that this is what I wanted to do. I just didn't know that there was an actual term for it, a title for it.
I do love, though, that you said, and after Googling it, you saw that there were lots of life coaches out there.
5 seconds later.
Well, first of all, let's take a moment to shout out your husband for being a great support system.
Yeah.
And giving, supporting that opportunity for you to step out and take that leap. So shout out to him.
Thank you, Dustin.
Yes, I think that's really important. Obviously, here we talk to a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, workingpreneurs, and I think a lot of times people still just need to hear that the support systems are there. It's possible. Like, we don't tell people to quit their jobs if they can around here, but we tell people to build an exit strategy.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about some of the things you help people with. I know you mentioned earlier, and one thing when you're thinking about people, especially a lot of times in careers, like let's just use like the professional space in a career. A lot of times people struggle with 2 things, and I see this all the time in my professional workplace: self-doubt.
Oh, yeah.
And imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you advise? What are some things that people can do to overcome those feelings? Because they creep in, like they creep in and they paralyze you from stepping into like that full potential.
Oh, 100%. I love this question. I think that self-doubt and imposter syndrome, I do think they're creepy, right? They show up in super sneaky ways, especially when you're trying to stretch into something bigger, right? Especially when it's just outside of what you've done or what you're comfortable with. So I guess first, let me just say that if you're feeling that, it's really a good thing. It doesn't feel good, but it's really a good thing because it means that you are stepping outside of your typical box, right? And that's exactly where your growth happens. So it's a good thing. So yay for feeling those sneaky, icky feelings, right? But the problem is why you feel that is because your brain doesn't really like growth. It really likes familiarity, and it likes to be comfortable, and it likes to stay status quo. And when you push past that, your brain will start throwing up all of these warning signs that are like, whoa, 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 are you sure you belong here? What if people figure out that you don't know what you're doing? Are you confident that you can do this because you've never done it before, right? And so it's a good thing because you're stepping out of that comfort zone. But that self-doubt and that imposter syndrome is trying to keep you safe. It's your brain trying to keep you safe. So one of the biggest things that I suggest, and I'm going to get just a little sciencey here. I'm a science nerd. Okay. So one of the biggest things that I suggest is training your personal assistant. I know we all don't have personal assistants, but we do in our brain. So we actually have a part of our brain that's called your reticulate activating system, your RAS. And its job is to filter for you, to prioritize for you, and to bring to your conscious self what it thinks is most important, right? And so its sole purpose is to do that efficiently and to keep you safe and to find you joy, right? Like that's its sole job. But the problem is that it is trained by repetition and by experiences over and over again. So it knows what you've done before, and that's what's comfortable. You have to retrain it that it's okay that I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I can do it, right? And so instead of it thinking, whoa, I've never done this before, you can train it to think, I'm qualified, right? And I am capable, even if it's something new. So an unrelated example of how this personal assistant works for you is if you were in the market for like a brand new car and you wanted a red car, what do you see all over the road?
Right.
Red cars everywhere, right? And then all of a sudden you change your mind. You're like, no, actually, I think I want a blue car. Those red cars all but disappear. Shocker. It's the same amount of red cars on the road at any given time, but that's your RAS filtering the world for you. And so you have to provide it with a glow up. Like you have to convince it to get a new version. And how you do that is become very aware of those thoughts that are making you feel that self-doubt and making you feel like you're an imposter. So what are you thinking? Is it, I'm not qualified? Is it, I've never done this before? Is it, what if I fail? Right? And so you change those into things like, no, I am capable. I learn quickly. Everything I've done, I've been good at. I'm up for the challenge, right? Any thought that you try on that gives you a different feeling, like, yeah, I am capable. It empowers you, right? And you do that on repeat. You tell that RAS system, I don't like that. I'm not qualified. I might fail thought. I want you to do this instead, over and over until eventually it's automatic and you don't have to worry about it. And while you're doing that, because it takes a while to retrain your brain to do it for you, while you're doing that, I always suggest that you act as if. I don't like the fake it till you make it situation. It's not fake. But an example of this, so when I first started as a speaker, like to large groups, I actually was asked to do it for the very first time. And they told me that there were going to be 1,500 people there. And instantly I was like, I've never spoken in front of 1,500 people before. I don't know what I'm doing for 1,500 people, right? And I had that imposter syndrome that what if they found out that I don't actually do this, right? And so I went to, okay, imagine myself 5 years from now when this is what I do all the time. How would I feel? What would I think? What would my habits be? How would I go about preparing for one of these events that I'm doing? And you just do that. You embody that person you know you can become, and you act as if you're her now. And that will carry you through while you're training your brain over and over and over again to do it automatically for you. And so I think that that's one of the most powerful tools is recognizing your thoughts are your choice, and you can retrain your brain to spit different ones out so that you feel not like you can't do it, but rather I absolutely can do it. Right? I'm totally capable.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's that's a great tip. And I also love too that you said that you don't do fake it till you make it, because I think that is important, because it is like when you hear someone say that fake it till it's like, I mean, do you not know what you're doing at all? Like it sends that like message that I have no idea what I'm doing conscious. But the truth of the matter is, it's just like in your example, you have spoken to people, just not a group that large, but you're a speaker. You've been doing it. You've been
Yeah.
communicating stories out to people. And so, I like that because it feels like there's also like some affirming that happens and manifesting that happens. You're just speaking it into yourself and saying
Yes.
like, yes, I can. This is who I am. And I think that's important because we will tell ourselves that we will do those things, right? We'll tell ourselves. And like one thing I did for myself this year is like, I have got affirmations written everywhere. I mean, they're in the
Love
bathroom.
that.
Like they're everywhere because it's important. Like now I see like a change in the day and my mood because I'm constantly reading them and affirming myself
Yes.
as opposed to like, because I think a lot of times like with women, women are like giving and doing so much and we're taking care of everybody and we're doing so much all the time that like a lot of times we're looking for that affirmation from other people.
Yes.
And it's like a lot of times you might not get it because it may not be somebody else's way of communicating. And I think that was like the thing, like I'm just saying, because everyone, I can only speak for myself. I'm just speaking for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm an affirmer. I always affirm people. I like to, like for people to leave feeling positive or take something about themselves that feels good, whatever. But then I realized last year when I was reflecting, wrapping up the year, I was like, oh, interesting. Like one of my like love languages words to affirmation. I was like, I realized not as many people affirm me as I affirm other people. And then I told myself, I was like, nope, this is what you're going to do for yourself. You're going to affirm your own self.
Yes.
You're
I
gonna-
love that.
You're going to speak it to yourself and you're going to give it to you. You don't need them to give it to you. And I was
No.
like, and now, like, yeah, like, and just the however many days, everyone, we joked before this show, before we started recording about January, this is when we're recording, it being like, I don't know, 60 days long. All right. So for the 60 days that I've already been affirming myself, it's been great.
Yeah. Well, you know, as women, I feel like it's so common to not have confidence in something until someone affirms that in you.
Right. Yeah.
But the truth is, your true confidence comes from you doing it, which
Yes.
means you're not going to have confidence until you
Mhm.
do. But that doesn't mean you can't assure yourself that you can.
Exactly.
Get yourself that evidence by doing it, by talking to yourself. And I love that. I love, yes, 60-day January, you're going strong on affirmations. That's important. It's really important.
And I like that you said that about confidence because I just noticed this very thing yesterday. I had a call. So I work in marketing and I had a call with a member of my team who's a woman. And we were meeting with someone that I used to work with at an old job. And he was going to come in and like advise on a project. Now, I listened to him speak about his capabilities and it was so interesting because I know him. Like I was like, I don't take it any type of way because I know he's a good person just from like our conversations. But honestly, like if I didn't know him, listening to him, I was like, oh, he sounds a little arrogant there. But I thought the point is that I thought about the difference in how men and women speak to their capabilities. Like the way, but he was selling himself. He did a really great job of like how he spoke about what he was capable of doing, what he's done in the past, and why we should work with him. And it was just so funny. And I thought to myself, like, I wonder what that would have sounded like coming from the person on my team who was, he's going to be working with, or like how even that matter, like how would I have sold myself and why it came off it was a bit aggressive, but then but like I said, I understood, but we see this all the time. This is sort of like how males put themselves out to the world and women it's a lot softer and we're looking for that connection to people. But the lesson I took from it is just like, while that may have seemed a little uncomfortable, but it was not a bad tactic. I could pick up some things from him and put those in my toolbox for the next time I'm telling someone about my services.
Yeah. Or about yourself. What if that's the way you talk to yourself about yourself?
Yeah.
Just maybe a slightly on the arrogant side, but mostly just full of confidence.
Exactly, because he was like oozing. It was oozing. So
Yeah.
I just say that, like I said, it's not a bad thing. I appreciated it, but I just felt like, wow, this is pretty interesting. So talking about confidence, what other, and I know there are limiting beliefs that we have.
Oh, yeah.
There are mindset blocks that we have and things that hold us back. In your time of coaching and helping people, what have you seen? What are some common things you see? And how do you help people to sort of flip that on the other side?
You know what I think I see more often than anything is the belief that you aren't in control of your own emotions. And we react to the world around us and really believe, so many people truly believe that that is what causes us to feel a certain way. He made me feel this way. I feel I'm angry because of what he did, right? And to be honest, we've been conditioned that way. Think about when we're a little kid, your parent says, like, oh, you made me mad, or you made me proud, or you made your sister sad, or whatever it happened to be. And that really isn't the truth, but we hold on to that belief as if it is true as dirt. I mean, it is real. But really, the truth is, it's just not true. The only person that can make you feel anything is you, specifically your thoughts. And it's mind blowing to some people because, and they resist it, honestly, at first. But when you become really aware of your thoughts and the emotions then that they spur, and if you're willing to try on different thoughts as if they're hats and just see what happens, it's very clear that you're controlling them. But we need to be aware of that first. Okay, why am I mad? He didn't make me mad. Why am I mad? I'm mad because this is what I thought. You know, I'm frustrated because this is what I thought. And this all rolls into another common roadblock, if you will, to the journey to doing whatever it is that you want to do, is other people's opinions. And really defining us by the way other people see us and their expectations of us.
Yeah.
But again, that goes all back to your thoughts on it. And if we are willing to truly believe anything, right, that's put out to us, then we're going to be a victim to whatever's happening around us. But if we're willing to say, okay, all of these situations around us, including people's opinions, including our relationships, they're just a situation. How do I want to think about it? That changes everything. And it changes how you feel. That changes how you feel determines how you act or what you don't do, right? And then that changes your results. And so if you think of all of your thoughts and your emotions and your efforts all weaved into mini results that make this tapestry of your life, if you don't like that tapestry, you can change it. And it all starts by responding intentionally in your thoughts and your emotions rather than reacting to what's around you, because then everybody else has your power. But you take that back, and it's incredible when you own your own power, the control you actually have. It's amazing. And that ripples out in your life in like the best of ways. Yeah, I would say those are the two biggest ones, is really not owning our thoughts and emotions and then giving away our power to everything around us.
Now, those are really, really, really great ones, because you see that like all the time. And especially like if you're like he's using the workplace as an example, it's like someone allowing somebody who might be a coworker who is not a great collaborator, not a great partner to them. And it's like, well, this person made me, I get so mad when they do this and they made me feel this way. And it's like, first of all, I think you mentioned like how you react to something, right? But also you mentioned being intentional about it.
Yes.
But also too, sometimes like taking a step back and saying, I'd like to address this. I'm not going to let this like live rent free in my head and control me. I'm going to go to the person and I'm going to have a conversation about it. And I find that so many times people don't do that. They're just, or sometimes people are just battling somebody. They got a whole feud with somebody who doesn't even know that they're mad at them.
Yes. Yeah. No, seriously. And
Yeah.
I love that they'll let it fester and, like you said, kind of take up headspace.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary. A good tool to kind of prevent that is to get curious instead of judgmental, right? So
Mhm.
there's this battle you're having, potentially even just in your own head, right? With someone.
Right. Yeah.
And instead of assuming, instead of getting judgmental about it, going to them and saying, this isn't sitting right. And I want to know why. What's going on?
Exactly.
Where are you
Yes.
standing on this? Let's talk about this. And a lot of times
Yes.
you'll find out that the battle really was in your own head.
Exactly. Because the most time people are like, oh, I didn't mean anything by that, but if
Yes.
I offended you, let's talk about it. And
Yes.
meanwhile, you've plotted their downfall and like
Oh, yeah.
all the things you're gonna do to them to get them back. And it's just like, chill, just go talk to
Yeah, you're 3 series into your new Netflix episode that you're creating in your head. Just go have a conversation.
Oh my goodness. All right, so let's talk about a lot of what you've spoken about into this next question around it almost seems like forming a habit.
Yes.
So let's talk about one, or you can give more, but we'll say one daily habit or
Okay.
practice you personally swear by that helps you to keep your mindset strong and aligned with your
Yes.
goals.
Okay. So I'm actually going to go with 2, and I'll talk about kind of the mindset and maybe
Mhm.
like a practice first. And I just mentioned it, but I live by it, and that truly is curiosity over judgment. I don't judge anyone for anything or any situation for anything. I get real curious about everything. So if
Mhm.
something doesn't hit me right, if something seems to be festering a little bit, I don't assume I know the answer. I go to that person or really examine the situation and ask why. What's the background behind this? Who is this coming from? And where might they be coming from that might lead them to take those actions and really get the truth out of it? When you get curious, you find the truth. Instead of judgmental, you're shading it with your truth, which may or
Mhm.
may not actually be true, right? And
Right.
so I would say, as just a daily, day in, day out practice, dropping judgment and being curious has changed my world, really. As far as a habit that I have, I start every year, every month, every week, every day with intentionality. And so I know what's coming up today. Let's say we're talking about talking with you today. What is my intentionality? What is it that I want to come out of that? What do I really want to portray so that the listeners get out of it something that they can use right now in their life? But that's with anything. Tomorrow I'm going to Disneyland with my 2 youngest kids. And I'm very intentional. Like, how do I want my mood to be? How do I want that day to go? How do I want to plan it so that they have fun, so that they enjoy it, so that we make memories? So, really being intentional in how I approach every day. And I do that purposefully when it's quiet, which is not right when I wake up. I have 4 small children and nothing is quiet in my world. But then they go to school, and that gives me that quiet time to really set my intention for that day and focus on what's happening. So that's what I would say are the 2 that
Mhm.
I practice day in and day out.
Oh yeah, those are great. I love those. All right, so we know coaching, right? When you embark on a coaching coach on that journey, it involves transformative work.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you have to do the work.
Got
Do you mind sharing a story from maybe a client success story where you've seen that happen before your eyes?
Yeah. So I actually thought you might ask something like this. And so I dug into what I thought your specific listeners maybe would relate the most to. So we're going to talk about, let's call her Sarah. So here's this woman that came to me, and I mean, raise your hand out there if you can relate, right? So she's super busy, overworked. She works and also has a family and is like managing the household, has a husband that obviously is carrying his piece too, but she's like gluing it all together, right, on a day to day. She just felt like life was chaotic, incredibly stressful. She felt like she had used the word drowning. She's like, I feel like I'm drowning and I'm exhausted and I just don't know how much longer I can do this, but I don't have a way out. Like, this is just my life. And she, even in her example, her life was good. I mean, she loved her family, loved her job, loved what they did. It was just so much. It was so heavy. And that's terrible, right? To have this life that on paper looks amazing, and yet you feel like you're drowning in it. And so we got to work, man. Like we got to work. So Sarah and I worked on what I call the 3 spheres of influence. We talked really about what is in her control, helping her to focus on that, really bringing her power back to what she actually has control over, some of which she was kind of ignoring, some of what she was trying to control that wasn't in her control and really wasting her energy. So we worked on that. We worked on something else, some tools from what I call the power hour, which is really instead of prioritizing your schedule, scheduling your priorities. And so making sure that her very busy calendar reflected what was most important to her. And I mean, that sounds easy, like, oh, well, I'll just quit my job and spend all my time with my family and my friends, right? But it's not that simple. And so really making her schedule work for her in a way that wasn't overwhelming and that was reflecting what was most important to her so that she knew her moments, her minutes, her days mattered, right? We talked a lot about intention. And so she had some goals that she felt were so out of reach because she was so overwhelmed and whatnot. And so intentionally breaking those down and making small actionable steps towards seeing progress in, that journey towards where she wanted to go. And the truth is, and I think this is true of any of us, is she didn't need more time and she didn't need a different life. She needed a new take on it all, right? And the tools to think differently, to behave differently, to be brave enough to show up as that person that she wanted to be brave enough to make the changes that she needed to make in order to have the loving feeling of her life that everybody else around her had, right? And truly, like through our work, she evolved into this very energetic, which she had described herself as before, just not then, but energetic, confident, and overall really happy. No one's happy all the time, right? But overall, really happy person who loved her life. And I mean, let me be clear, like she put in the work, right? It takes work to really change the habits that we've gotten into. But that's kind of the power of coaching is you have this outside person that can look in your box and show you what you're saying versus what you're doing and showing you where you can take your power back and showing you having confidence in you when you lost it long ago or waited for it to show up, right? And it's there. And yes, you can, and holding you accountable and believing in you and allowing you to show up for all of it. And that was, I think, one of my favorite clients because her results, nothing in her life changed, like literally nothing. She changed, and that changed everything for her in ways that she never thought were possible. And so I thought that was maybe a pretty relatable one because here we are, women, we're busy. We have all the things. It's stressful. It's crazy, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love I heard it was changing habits, changing mindset, right? You didn't have to get rid of, you don't have to throw your life away and get a new one.
No.
You just needed to refine the one that she had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Megan, why don't you tell the audience listening or watching how they can work with you and how they can connect to you?
Okay, great question. So to connect with me, I have a website, which is Tantalum Coaching. If you're listening, that's TANTALM coaching.com. And there's a connect button on there. You can check out services on there, or there's also a phone number and you can text or you can call. There's also an email, and I personally am the one that is getting back to you. So reach out. It doesn't have to be anything intense. Just, hey, can we set up some time to talk? Absolutely. And as far as working with me, I have one-on-one clients. I have group coaching sessions that are every quarter. I have 2 live events a year. And so depending on what you need and how individualized you want it, you get to pick what works for you. And really all of it is working towards whatever that gap is that you have in your life, feelings, financial, relationship, closing that gap so that you can make whatever it is you're hoping for a reality. And so any of those work, you get to pick.
Awesome. I love that. All right. Fantastic. So we're going to transition now to 3 things with Megan. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. So just helps our audience get to know you a little bit better. So the first one is a 2-parter. And it's like my favorite question to ask. How do you start and end the day?
Ooh, okay. So I have 4 kids and they're little. So my time is like not my time in the morning. I know some people are like, I have 3 hours and I do a spiritual thing. This is not a reality of my life, but I need that time before someone's like in my face and super hyper and ready to go. So I get up at 4:15 and I go to the gym. I have learned about myself that if I don't have someone expecting me to be at a gym class, I don't go. So I go to a class at 5. And so I go and do that. And then I come back and get all the kids ready in the lunches and out the door. And then after that, that's when I get my quiet time. And so that's where I talked about that intention, right? And so where I really set my intention, where I look at my goals for the day and make sure that I'm in that place and I show up as the person that's going to make that happen. So that's the beginning of my day.
Yeah.
The end of my day, no matter how the day goes, I find it really important to be able to lay my head down on the pillow looking at the good, because in any day, no matter how cruddy it was, there's always something good. And so I really focus on 2 things: on what am I most proud of from that day and what am I most grateful for. And there's always something that you can be proud of and always something you can be thankful for. And that really allows your brain again to refocus on those good things to end your day instead of being prisoner to whatever drama there was or stress there was. And so that's how I end my day, is those 2 questions, really diving into a little bit of gratitude and a little bit of confidence in myself for what I did well.
Awesome. All right. I love it. All right. Number 2, what's a goal or an intention that you've set for yourself this year?
I love it. I actually do that every year. I know that it's kind of a hot topic now where people set like a word of intention for the year. And I've been doing it for a while, but I love it. So mine this year is balance. The reason is all my kids now are kind of in a different season where everybody's in sports and everybody's in activities and we're pulled like a bunch of different ways. And last year felt very much like we were meeting those needs, but maybe our family time was a little bit shy unless it was sitting on the sideline of a basketball or football or soccer game, right? And friend time, like really connecting with those families in our little village, and personal time for sure, whether it's my husband and I alone or whether it's me alone. And so I really wanted to get that balance back, and not that they have to be fair across the board, but just that sense of balance. And so that's my intention for this year. And I think if you're listening and you don't do that, the beautiful thing about setting an intention for the year is you build up those skills and you gain those tools to be that, right? Whatever that is. And so maybe it's peace, or maybe it's self-confidence, or maybe it's balance, but that year sets you up to do that forever.
Right.
And so I love that. And as far as a goal, my goal really just in what I do and kind of in life in general is just to be an example of what's possible. And so through stress, through devastation, through brilliance of things that are happening, just to be an example of what's possible in life. And I don't know. I don't think that'll be changed anytime soon.
I love it. I love it. All right. And the last question is, where are you currently finding inspiration?
Ooh, I mean, like I'm sure a lot of us, I love myself some good quotes or some good books, but I think right now, 2 places. My clients, number 1, I love seeing their results, and that motivates and inspires me to create more tools, to have more in my little box that I can pull out to make their results come faster, easier for them, better for them, all of that. So I think that's inspiring, is seeing what they're willing to do, the work they're willing to put in. I'm putting in just as much to make their experience even better, and the power of coaching even stronger. And then I think for my kids, we get into this like adulting thing, and life just lifes. And we forget that there's just fun out there, and there's beauty out there, and there's naivety out there. And all of that comes with a freedom. And so they're constantly reminding me the value of that, of just fun, of just having faith to have faith, of just enjoying to enjoy, even if it's not amazing or perfect, and being creative, like all of that. I think they're very inspiring in the freedom that they show me every day. So that's pretty inspiring to me too.
Yeah, I love that. All right. And Megan, before I let you go, one last question for you. What are 3 things you'd like our audience to take away from our conversation today?
Oh, friends, If you could take away anything, I think number one, you're not stuck. I feel like we feel stuck so often, but your thoughts, your habits, your beliefs, you are very changeable. And I'm not saying you're broken. You are not broken. But if you want change, it's possible. You're not stuck. If you think that today is really shaping your reality, the good news is that you have a tomorrow. I mean, literally every single day you have the chance to rewire how you're doing what you're doing. So that's one. You're not stuck. If you are, we talked about self-doubt. So if you have that self-doubt and you aren't really feeling ready to take action, whether it's professionally, personally, whatever, they don't magically disappear, right? And so I said that confidence isn't going to automatically be there. It's not a prerequisite. You can become the person you want to be. You can show up as that person, even if you feel that way. And in doing so, you'll gain that confidence and you'll train your own self, your own little brain personal assistant, that you are that person. And so I think don't wait until you feel ready. Sure, have imposter syndrome and do it anyway. I think that's another one. And then I think just knowing you're worth the effort. I know that you have male listeners, but a lot of them are women. And we are so amazing at not understanding our value and our worth. And we'll do everything for everyone else. And it seems selfish to do something for ourselves, but you're worth it. You are worth that effort and you're worth the change that you want to make. Dying over here.
Girl, you just over there kissing college.
But you are worth becoming the person that you want to be.
You were dropping knowledge. So, I mean, your throat's like...
dropping it, yeah. Your life in general isn't something to tolerate. It's something that you create. And you're worth that. And you don't need to wait for it. And you've got it. You can change it today. That's what I would say.
Awesome. I love that. Well, Megan, it has been a pleasure having you on. Lots of great tips and information to help us all just get closer to the people that have been called to be. So I want to thank you so much for coming. You can always come back here in the future. I wish you so much success this year and good luck. Definitely find that balance you want for your life.
Oh, well, thank you. And good luck with this self-assurance and with all of the mirror messages that you had. Yes. And thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. Stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back.